Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. Another in our series of what's going on in the community. We've got Jeff Massey, County Coordinator for the County of Washington, in which we find ourselves this morning. Jeff has the unenviable job of juggler, rodeo clown, and a circus musician all at the same time. He's got all the balls in the air.
Sometimes it's like that.
Today we have a treat, though. I can't go to a restaurant. I can't talk to anybody anywhere when they don't complain about our lack of internet connectivity, of our broadband options. The county has been moving forward with all haste over in the background for a while now, and they have some good information. They've got some good news and even better news as we progress. When we come back, we're going to talk to Jeff about broadband internet, the accessibility of as it pertains to Washington County. Hopefully good news for some of you and even better news for others. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest this morning is Jeff Massey. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you guys are busy.
Well, I know we used to do this a little bit more regular basis, and we have been busy, so I'm really excited to be here today because I think there is a lot of good things happening in the community.
Oh, there's no doubt. You know, unfortunately, the media does not broadcast, does not report, does not cover good news. They have to cover bad news. If it bleeds, it leads. That's the old adage in television and print news, and I get it. That is what is the glamour. That's the clickbait. That's what makes people go to your website, watch the evening news. But it's nice, especially in the times in which we find ourselves these days, Jeff, to have some good things to focus on because, you know, there are people going crazy thinking the world is falling apart, and to some it may appear that way. Yeah. And we definitely live in interesting times.
I would say so.
But what we're talking about this morning, and which I'm excited to introduce the topic of, is connectivity, internet broadband.
Yep. With
COVID, we recognized probably more poignantly than ever that we need connectivity, just if nothing else, for the educational factor.
Correct.
You've got telemedicine. You've got all kinds of opportunities for these things if you have connectivity, and if you don't, the rest of the world passes you by. I know the county's been working feverishly in the background for a long time now. Can you start at the beginning and tell us how all of that transpires and where we're at, and maybe what we get to look forward to?
Well, you mentioned a couple good points there. For us, we knew that broadband has been kicked around for years, but that's exactly what was happening. It was getting kicked around and nobody was getting broadband, especially in rural counties such as ourselves. And we're not the only county that has to deal with this issue. So, and I also understand that the bigger companies who had the ability to provide internet, they operate on their business model, and their business model does not include rural counties where they have to come in and spend millions and millions and millions of dollars for infrastructure, mainly fiber, and recoup their investment in our county. It's business, I get it. But nevertheless, the result is the same. We don't have internet. And so I started looking into some things and was watching very closely what was going on in Walton County, because when you get north of the bay in Walton County, they're a lot like Washington County, and people in the north side just didn't have internet. And they started addressing this problem, and I started talking with those folks and what they're doing, and came across something very interesting, is that there was a company that really has designed a system is built for rural America, okay? And it's broadband internet. And I started working with them and looking with them, and then we had a little nucleus of people here, and I would bring back the information, we'd discuss it, because we had options. You know, everybody throws the satellite internet out there and things like that. So it progressed, and it progressed to a point, and we said, this is what we can do because it's going to be affordable, not only to the county, but to the residents. So we ended up entering to a contract with WildStar, and the technology they're bringing is a bit different than your traditional broadband. The old broadband technology is line of sight, and when you hit a tree or a building or an obstacle, it stops the signal. This is not like that. It'll meet the signal, but it goes and keeps going. So it just opened up a whole new possibility for us. So we investigated it, and I think really a little over 2 years we've been working on this. So we got the company into Washington County, sat down and developed a plan. We looked at our county and developed a plan on what would work for us, because we're unique. We're not Jackson, we're not Holmes, we're not Bay or anything like that. So we came up with a design, and basically our plan was this. We knew there were county towers that we could access for broadband. So number one, we identified those to make those target towers. Number two, we knew we had a number of privately owned towers that we could co-locate on. And we do have a number of those, and that is going to help us greatly. And then number three, where we had county-owned property, or in some cases it might be a deal with a private citizen, and we would put up our own monolithic poles for connectivity to tie everything together. And so where we're at presently is that we've been through the planning, we've been through design, and now we're in the construction phase, and we're getting very close. But I can tell you this, with any good laid plan, you can expect there's going to be bumps in the road. And to give you an illustration, a couple of the bumps we've had is we identified this super tower that would be great. Fiber on the tower, it'll allow all the towers to backhaul and talk to each other, but the company was very difficult to deal with, and we just got nowhere. But we were so intent on getting this tower because of crucial location, and but to no avail. But I think we finally crossed that bridge. But in the meantime, we went ahead and adjusted and says we can't plan on getting that tower. So where we stand today is next week, the information I was given this week, next week on May 11th, they will be running the fiber to the tower in Wausau. Once that's done, our Mud Hill Tower is already functional. It just needs that fiber tower to be hooked up. We have a tower in place and ready to go with the exception of the power company hooking power to it, and that's in process at Daniels Lake. Okay, once we do that, we can heat those towers up and we can start doing testing. Okay, they're going to want to go out there and test the perimeters of the signal to see, is this a place we need another monolithic pole to complete the signal to give us good strength. And let me say, the state now, when you deal with the state of Florida and talk about broadband, and they have an Office of Broadband now that we're very active with and have a good relationship with, because Washington County is really ahead of most of the other counties, rural counties in the state. Matter of fact, we are. And that's brought me some concerns, and I'll explain that. But we're right here now to where we can start doing our test homes. And the whole thing will consist of, they'll put a box on your house, it'll read the tower. The state's recommending that we have no less than 25 down and 3 up internet speed. Our target is 100 down, 20 up. So it should be good, viable internet, quick. You know, if you have documents you have to send out, if you're working from home, you'll be able to do that, and with relatively good speed. And so you said something a minute ago about when COVID hit, it absolutely did expose us for what we don't have, and that was internet. Distance learning for the kids. Very important. Our kids are our future, and I feel like in some ways it stopped while COVID was going on. But if we'd had viable internet, they could have kept their things going. The other one is the conversations we've had with our medical facility and the hospital folks is telemed for elderly, and, not getting out. Home-based businesses, and that's bigger than ever now. And so, yes, we were exposed. So today I can tell you this, we will be testing homes probably in a limited area within the next couple weeks is my best guess at this point. But let me say, that's not the only place we've been. WildStar's done a good job. They've signed contracts, 3 contracts with American Tower. American Towers are the really tall towers that are even taller than the poles we put up. And they're in crucial locations like Caryville, Crystal Lake, and places like that we normally would have to spend the money to put up our own monolithic pole. But now it's a simple lease between WildStar and the tower, which we're not outlaying that money. So when we go out and look for dollars to fund this, it's just not rolling in. So everything we can save in the process, but not skip on connectivity and quality of the internet, is a win. So we're going to look at putting some of our own monolithic poles up at places like Quail Hollow, Orange Hill, Fire Department area, right there, Whitehead. We were going to put one in Caryville, but they signed a contract with American Tower right there in Caryville. We found another American Tower just south of Bonifay on 79, which is right there at Washington County, another American Tower. Boy, I'm telling you, now we're starting to tie this thing in. As you know, the sheriff got a grant after Michael to put up a communications tower, badly needed for fire and rescue and sheriff and EMS. We have that location in place. That is in process. That'll be over on the Holmes Valley Road area on the hill, which is going to help with connectivity to Ebro. And that we have a tower on the ground already delivered at Hunters Park to be put up, Quail Hollow, Orange Hill. So these things don't take that long to put up. It virtually takes geotechnical work, so the engineers can say this is the kind of slab you have to support this structure. Pour the concrete, let it cure for 2 weeks. It literally takes them 2 days to put up a tower. So we're getting very close to having a much larger connectivity area, but WildStar has faced some issues like finding people to work. And the supply chain. You know, the supply chain all over our country, whether it's food, whether it's this or that, well, they were affected too, getting these things to port. And the boxes that are built to go on the homes, getting those in. And now they're starting to come in. But if you think about it, when we get ready and get hot, we're going to need several thousand of those probably. So I had that conversation with them this week, and they assured me that is all starting to come to fruition. And so those are some of the hiccups that have slowed us down. The other big part of the process that's very slow is by the time you go through the engineers and planning and permitting and all these kind of things to make sure we're following code and statutes, you got to stop, back up, figure something out, and do it. But at the end of the day, our goal as a county is to make sure that every citizen has access to broadband internet. If they have internet that they're happy with, so be it. That is great. But there's a lot of folks that don't have any access. So we just want to make sure that option's out there. And it's going to be very affordable. You know, I mean, the preliminary numbers are showing somewhere, depending on your speeds that you want, $65 to $75 a month. So, yeah, I'm really excited because I kind of took this one on myself as my baby, and I take it kind of personal, and I want to see this happen because it's going to help the county.
Wow, you had me at hello. I've got 100 questions. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more to Jeff Massey. Okay. Again, there are probably there's more demand for connectivity than ever, and in addition to that, there are more opportunities for people to subscribe to streaming services like Netflix and YouTube and Amazon.
Sure, yeah.
So not only is there more of a need for it, but there are more options for people to buy into.
Yeah.
So they're going to want those higher connectivity speeds. They're going to want the high caps. They're going to want to have lots of data per month so that they can watch their episode of Ozark or whatever.
They can stream or whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk to Jeff Massey, the county manager, county coordinator for Washington County, a little bit more about this very exciting subject, internet or broadband connectivity. Again, no more need for it than ever. There's never been a demand as great as there is right now. And this is exciting news. Hopefully you're excited by it as well, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Our guest is Jeff Massey from Washington County, talking about broadband, talking about connectivity, talking about the availability of internet service for you, your children, your school children in particular. If you're elderly, if you're infirm, if you've got health problems, nowadays you don't go to the doctor. You do a Zoom call. My wife, every month or two, she's got a Zoom call going on. It's actually a really great thing. It saves her a trip into Panama City or Dothan or wherever her doctor's located. It saves the doctor time. He can see 100 patients in the time it would take to see 15 or 20 patients. Jeff, as I mentioned, there's 1,000 questions that come up following your explanation. By the way, excellent job of explaining that whole start to finish process. Many people just figure that, the big bad counties up there, they've got their hand on the spigot and they're just not allowing people to have internet service.
Not the case.
It's not, and we certainly know that. However, when your child comes home or multiple children come home and say they can't do their homework, or, hey, Mom, you're going to have to drive me to the public library so I can go online, or we got to go to Aunt Sue's house so that we can go online, or in our case here at the college, they come and they sit in our parking lot, and for those students who still have our password, they're actually able to log on, which we're proud for them to do, but there's just not enough availability of that for people to do. And if you live in Ebro or Caryville or any place at the further ends of the county, it's tough for you to be able to do that and paint between the lines. Many years ago, I say many, 15 years ago, I guess it's been, there was a service called Main Street Broadband that came to this area. I think I was one of the first customers in downtown Chipley on Railroad Avenue. We had our studio there at that time, and it was very inexpensive. It was $35 a month. It had no cap. It was extremely fast, and it was funded by the Department of Agriculture. And what happened is that, and actually several friends of mine were part of the company that owned it, which I didn't know until after the fact. But at some point, the Department of Agriculture decided not to renew the loan, and so that went away. And it left a big divot. And I think there was a lot of politics behind the scenes because not long afterward, we had FRBA, the Florida Rural Broadband Initiative. And there was a bunch of money spent looking for tower locations. And we went to several meetings, covered them. You can still find them online, the video of those meetings. And we were told that, hey, this is coming. This is the next best thing. It's probably 12 years ago. And all that money was used, and then all of a sudden, and never the first bit of hardware ever materialized as far as I know. I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying that was a whole bunch of waste of money there. So if you're fortunate to be in downtown Chipley or some other areas where you have, or even Vernon has cable, they have Mediacom. As a matter of fact, interestingly, Vernon has two options for internet service between satellite or DSL and Mediacom, and then we have what's now known as Spectrum in Chipley. Which is fairly fast, it's fairly reasonable, and there's no price too much if it's your child that's getting behind in his schoolwork. Matter of fact, right now the common thought is that the kids are 6 to 9 months behind educationally across these areas that just simply don't have the internet. Probably not far from that number worldwide, or at least nationally, because of COVID and because of that distance learning, which basically means no learning. We have been tasked by the Department of Education here at the college to start looking towards that option of going online for all of our classes. Of course, we argue that you can't teach welding online, you can't teach nursing online, but we've got a new normal, and who knows what we have to look forward to. All right, you mentioned the fact that this may cost around $60, $70, and frankly, under $100 will probably make it affordable as long as it's reasonably fast and reasonably a large amount of data. So now, what people are going to have to come to terms with is they're probably not going to be able to have Netflix streaming on 3 rooms in their house all at the same time like they're used to doing when they're on cable service. For 30 years, my wife and I lived in Panama City Beach, and we had Nology and Comcast. And you had your option of two. There was a war between the two. There were always deals. You never thought about the lack of internet. You moved to a rural county, and you have just that. You mentioned some outlying areas in Washington County. What about Chipley? You mentioned that there might be a tower in Caryville, that there was some stuff down in Wausau. What's the status of the Chipley area, just out of curiosity?
Well, the good thing about this is the size of modern water towers and communities is got a great height and elevation to it. And so we have entered into an MOU with Chipley and Wausau, Vernon and Ebro, and what that allows us to do is have access to their water towers. So we've already identified and spoke with Chipley, identified and been out there. The tower there at the high school, water tower, the one at Old Rolac, are going to be crucial points. And so, you mentioned the old broadband initiative that was here. Some of their old equipment is still up on there, so that's going to come off. And we're going to put stuff up there that's going to stream east, west, north, and south to cover. And remember, all these towers talk to each other. That's the importance of having fiber at certain strategic towers, because the towers that have fiber allows all the other towers to backhaul the signals. And I'm not an internet guy. I'm just telling you what I'm starting to learn and going through this. But it's very interesting technology. And I do want to point out one thing is that we mentioned the importance of distance learning and telemed and home business. But we've been working very hard with Deltona Corporation. And as a matter of fact, I had a phone call with those folks this week, and they're coming back, and they're going to start with building 20 homes. So, that's going to spread because U.S. Water's in the conversation now. The other landowners are in the conversation. Florida Power Light's in the conversation. This community looks like it's taking back the life that it's capable of having, which is going to be a process. But the point is, we have a lot of people coming, Bay County's filling up, and they're filling up coming north. The population's growing, people are tired of the rat race, and a lot of the homes and the big developments that are being built in North Bay, the average person can't afford. So naturally, they would look in South Washington County to try to find an affordable home, and they'll drive back to work. Well, what does everybody want in their home? Internet. So this all goes hand in hand, expanding water sewer systems there, internet, having nice homes that people can afford. That's what's going to help us bring growth. And when you consider the number of lots that have sat dormant in Sunny Hills, not on the tax rolls, for all these years that are now coming back on the tax rolls, hopefully it'll provide some revenue to the county to allow us to even improve other areas. So this is just not a broadband thing. This begats that, and it's like a big wheel and many spokes, and it all ties together. So the ramifications of it is huge, and I can tell you this though: we wouldn't be where we are if the Board of County Commissioners didn't understand it, buy into it, and say, Jeff, just keep us posted, but go for it. So that's what we're doing.
One thing that COVID pointed out also was the ability for these large corporate entities to actually have some of their folks work from home. Mm-hmm. Some of the very large office type structures in other parts of the county, other parts of the country rather, we don't have them here, but these places that have tens of thousands of people all reporting to the same physical location. Even post-COVID, what they've done is they've built satellite locations. And so these people don't have to drive all the way to that city. They can simply go to the small town that still may be something of a drive. So it'd be akin to, instead of having to drive to Atlanta, you just drive to Dothan and work out of that satellite office, or you're able to work from home. Zoom, the online service Zoom, changed hands not too long ago, and it's now rife with all kinds of malware and viruses. and it's really not a safe software to use anymore. Most people still use it, but I would imagine along with this resurgence or growth of internet business, that there are going to be more and safer services out there that will allow this conferencing. Yeah. That's a huge deal. Anything else that we haven't talked about as it pertains to internet service? When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other things going on in the county, but I would dare say that this is one of the more exciting points, and I think that it's probably one that answers a lot of questions.
Well, I would just urge the folks to be patient. You can't build out the whole county at one time, so what we did is we segmented the county and where we thought the need would be the greatest in the near future. And of course, what I just talked about with Bay County moving north, that Sunny Hills and that part of the county it just stood out like a sore thumb. So, but the good thing about it is we've made so much progress, we're actually much farther ahead than just that area. When you start getting up towards Chipley and over towards Caryville, and we have these plans laid and it's happening, I think we're a little bit ahead. So just be patient. It's coming, I promise. Terribly excited about it. We'll either be the goat or the hero. We'll see.
Well, I think you're going to be the hero either way. The patience part, we'll let people make up their own mind, but people typically are not very patient.
Well, they need this service.
I get it.
I understand it. And
I get it, but you guys are not the ones that necessarily should be on that hot seat. However, that goes with the territory.
Goes with the territory.
And probably why you get the big bucks, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
As far as they know.
I don't know. As far as they know.
Would you hang around so we can talk about some more stuff?
Sure.
Our guest today has been Jeff Massey, County Manager for Washington County, Florida. Exciting news, and when we come back, we're going to talk about stuff that I dare say is even going to be more exciting to you. We'll be right back.